Introduction to Biodiversity. Biodiversity, short for biological diversity, encompasses the incredible variety of life forms on Earth. This concept includes the diversity of species, ecosystems, and genetic variations within species. Biodiversity is a testament to the evolutionary processes that have shaped life on our planet over millions of years. It is not just a measure of the sheer number of organisms, but also reflects the complexity and interconnectedness of life in different environments. A. Definition and scope of biodiversity. Biodiversity is typically categorized into three main levels. Species diversity. This refers to the variety of different species within a given area. Species diversity is often measured by the number of different species and their relative abundance in an ecosystem. High species diversity indicates a rich and varied community, while low diversity can signal environmental stress or instability. Ecosystem diversity. This involves the variety of ecosystems or habitats within a region. Each ecosystem supports a unique community of organisms and plays a specific role in maintaining ecological balance. Ecosystem diversity includes forests, wetlands, grasslands, deserts, and marine environments, each providing distinct resources and services. Genetic diversity. This level pertains to the variety of genetic information within a single species or among populations of a species. Genetic diversity is crucial for adaptation and survival, as it provides the raw material for evolutionary processes. It helps populations adapt to changing environments, resist diseases, and maintain overall health and viability. B. Importance of biodiversity in maintaining ecological balance. Biodiversity is fundamental to the health and stability of ecosystems. Each species plays a role in its ecosystem, contributing to the balance and function of the environment. This balance is maintained through complex interactions among species, including predation, competition, symbiosis, and nutrient cycling. A rich tapestry of life ensures that ecosystems can adapt to changes and recover from disturbances, such as natural disasters or human impacts. Ecosystem services. Biodiversity provides essential services that support life on Earth. These include provisioning services, such as food, water, and raw materials, regulating services, such as climate regulation, disease control, and pollination, supporting services, such as soil formation and nutrient cycling, and cultural services, such as recreational, aesthetic, and spiritual benefits. The loss of biodiversity can disrupt these services, leading to significant consequences for human well-being and the environment. Resilience to change. Biodiverse ecosystems are generally more resilient to environmental changes and stresses. A diverse community of organisms can better withstand and recover from disturbances because different species have varied responses to changes. For example, diverse plant species in a forest can maintain ecosystem functions even if some species are affected by disease or climate change. Natural processes. Biodiversity supports natural processes that are crucial for sustaining life. For instance, plants and microorganisms play a key role in nutrient cycling, which is essential for soil fertility and agricultural productivity. Similarly, diverse marine ecosystems, such as coral reefs and mangroves, provide critical habitats for many species and protect coastlines from erosion and storm surges. C. Biodiversity and human impact. Human activities have a profound impact on biodiversity. The rapid expansion of agriculture, urbanization, and industrialization has led to habitat loss, pollution, and climate change, which threaten many species and ecosystems. The current rate of biodiversity loss is alarming, with many species facing extinction and ecosystems becoming degraded. Habitat destruction. The conversion of natural habitats into agricultural lands, urban areas, and infrastructure reduces the available space for wildlife and disrupts ecological processes. Deforestation, wetland drainage, and coastal development are major contributors to habitat loss. Pollution. Pollution from chemicals, plastics, and other waste products contaminates air, water, and soil, affecting the health of both ecosystems and species. Pollutants can alter habitat conditions, harm wildlife, and reduce the availability of clean resources. Climate change. Global climate change affects biodiversity by altering temperature and precipitation patterns, leading to shifts in species distributions, altered growing seasons, and increased frequency of extreme weather events. These changes can disrupt ecological relationships and threaten species survival. In summary, biodiversity represents the richness and variety of life on Earth and is crucial for maintaining the health and functionality of ecosystems. Understanding and protecting biodiversity is essential for ensuring the continued provision of ecosystem services and the resilience of our planet's natural systems. Components of biodiversity. Biodiversity is a multifaceted concept that encompasses the variety of life forms on Earth. It can be divided into three primary components: species diversity, ecosystem diversity, and genetic diversity. Each component plays a crucial role in maintaining ecological balance and ensuring the stability of ecosystems. A. Species diversity. Species diversity refers to the variety of different species within a particular area or ecosystem. This component is often used as a primary measure of biodiversity and includes both the number of species, species richness, and the relative abundance of each species. High species diversity indicates a rich and varied community, whereas low species diversity may signal ecological stress or instability. Species richness. This is the count of different species present in a given area. A higher number of species generally signifies a more diverse and potentially more resilient ecosystem. For example, tropical rainforests are known for their high species richness, with thousands of plant, animal, and microorganism species coexisting in a relatively small area. Species evenness. This measures how evenly individuals are distributed among the different species in an ecosystem. In a community with high species evenness, no single species dominates. Instead, each species is represented by similar numbers of individuals. High evenness often correlates with greater ecosystem stability and resilience. Importance of species diversity. Species diversity is vital for the health of ecosystems. Each species contributes to various ecological processes such as pollination, seed dispersal, nutrient cycling, and predation. A loss of species can disrupt these processes and lead to ecological imbalances. For example, the decline of pollinators like bees can affect plant reproduction and crop yields. B. Ecosystem diversity. Ecosystem diversity refers to the variety of ecosystems within a given region or across the planet. Ecosystems are complex networks of living organisms interacting with their physical environment. Each ecosystem supports a unique combination of species and provides specific ecological functions and services. Types of ecosystems. Ecosystem diversity includes a wide range of environments, such as forests, grasslands, wetlands, deserts, oceans, and freshwater systems. Each type of ecosystem has distinct physical conditions, such as temperature, soil type, and moisture levels, which influence the types of species that can thrive there. Functions of ecosystems. Different ecosystems provide various services that are crucial for life on Earth. For example, forests act as carbon sinks, helping to mitigate climate change, while wetlands filter pollutants from water and provide habitats for wildlife. Coral reefs offer protection to coastlines and support diverse marine life. Conservation of ecosystem diversity. Protecting ecosystem diversity is essential for maintaining the functionality and resilience of the natural world. Conservation efforts often focus on preserving different types of ecosystems and their associated species. This can involve establishing protected areas, restoring degraded habitats, and implementing sustainable management practices. C. Genetic diversity. Genetic diversity refers to the variation in genetic information within and between populations of a species. It is a critical component of biodiversity because it provides the raw material for evolution and adaptation. Genetic diversity ensures that populations can adapt to changing environmental conditions and survive challenges such as diseases and climate change. Genetic variation. Within a single species, individuals may have different genetic traits that can affect their survival and reproduction. This variation is essential for the ability of populations to adapt to environmental changes. For instance, genetic diversity in crops can lead to better resistance to pests and diseases, improving agricultural productivity and food security. Conservation of genetic diversity. Maintaining genetic diversity is crucial for the long-term health of species. Conservation strategies include protecting natural habitats, managing breeding programs for endangered species, and preserving genetic material in seed banks and gene banks. Impact of loss of genetic diversity. A reduction in genetic diversity can make populations more vulnerable to diseases, reduce their adaptability, and increase the risk of extinction. For example, the decline in genetic diversity among cheetahs has led to increased susceptibility to diseases and reproductive issues. In summary, the three main components of biodiversity, species diversity, ecosystem diversity, and genetic diversity, are interrelated and essential for the health and stability of the natural world. Each component contributes to the resilience of ecosystems and the overall functionality of the biosphere. Understanding and preserving these components is critical for ensuring the sustainability of life on Earth. Benefits of biodiversity. Biodiversity, the richness and variety of life on Earth, plays a crucial role in supporting and sustaining the natural world and human society. Its benefits are multifaceted, encompassing ecological balance, economic value, and cultural significance. Each of these aspects underscores the importance of preserving biodiversity to maintain the health and stability of ecosystems and human well-being. A. Ecological balance. Biodiversity is essential for maintaining ecological balance and ensuring the resilience of ecosystems. Diverse ecosystems are better equipped to withstand and recover from disturbances such as natural disasters, climate change, and human impacts. Ecosystem resilience. A diverse community of organisms contributes to ecosystem resilience by providing a range of functions and services. For instance, different species play roles in nutrient cycling, soil formation, and pollination, which collectively help ecosystems recover from disturbances. In a forest, various plant species can support a range of pollinators and herbivores, contributing to the stability of the ecosystem. Regulation of ecosystem processes. Biodiversity helps regulate critical ecosystem processes such as water purification, climate regulation, and disease control. Wetlands, for example, filter pollutants from water and reduce the risk of flooding. Similarly, forests sequester carbon dioxide, helping to mitigate climate change. Diverse ecosystems can better manage these processes, ensuring the sustainability of environmental functions. Interconnectedness of species. The interactions between different species create a web of relationships that supports ecological balance. Predators, prey, and decomposers all play interconnected roles that contribute to ecosystem health. For example, the presence of predators can control the population of herbivores, preventing overgrazing and maintaining plant diversity. B. Economic value. Biodiversity provides substantial economic benefits through various sectors, including agriculture, pharmaceuticals, and tourism. These economic advantages are integral to human livelihoods and economic stability. Agriculture. Biodiversity contributes to agricultural productivity by providing genetic resources for crop and livestock breeding. Diverse plant and animal species offer traits that can enhance resilience to pests, diseases, and changing environmental conditions. For example, traditional crop varieties often have unique characteristics that can improve yield and resistance in modern agriculture. Pharmaceuticals. Many medicines are derived from natural sources, including plants, fungi, and microorganisms. Biodiversity is a critical source of new drugs and treatments for various diseases. For instance, the discovery of compounds in rainforest plants has led to the development of life-saving medications for conditions such as cancer and malaria. Tourism. Ecotourism and wildlife tourism are significant economic drivers in many regions. Natural landscapes, diverse wildlife, and unique ecosystems attract tourists and generate revenue for local communities. This tourism not only provides economic benefits but also fosters conservation efforts by creating incentives to protect natural areas. C. Cultural significance. Biodiversity holds profound cultural and spiritual value for many communities around the world. It is deeply intertwined with cultural practices, traditions, and identity. Cultural practices. Many indigenous and local communities have cultural practices and traditions that are closely connected to their natural environment. These practices often involve the use of local plants, animals, and landscapes in rituals, ceremonies, and daily life. For example, certain plants may be used in traditional medicine or as part of religious ceremonies. Cultural identity. Biodiversity contributes to the cultural identity of communities by shaping their relationship with the natural world. Unique landscapes, wildlife, and ecosystems are often integral to local stories, art, and heritage. Preserving biodiversity helps maintain the cultural heritage and identity of these communities. Education and inspiration. Biodiversity also has educational and inspirational value. The study of diverse species and ecosystems can inspire scientific discovery and foster a deeper understanding of the natural world. Moreover, the beauty and complexity of biodiversity can inspire art, literature, and conservation efforts. D. The interdependence of benefits. The benefits of biodiversity are interconnected, with ecological, economic, and cultural aspects often influencing one another. For example, healthy ecosystems provide resources for agriculture and tourism, which in turn support cultural practices and community livelihoods. Protecting biodiversity ensures that these benefits continue to support both natural and human systems. In summary, biodiversity offers significant ecological, economic, and cultural benefits. It maintains ecological balance, supports economic sectors, and enriches cultural practices. Recognizing and valuing these benefits is crucial for fostering conservation efforts and ensuring the sustainable use of natural resources for future generations. Introduction to taxonomy. Taxonomy is the scientific discipline dedicated to the classification, naming, and identification of organisms. This field provides a systematic framework for organizing the vast diversity of life on Earth, allowing scientists to communicate about species in a precise and consistent manner. Taxonomy plays a crucial role in understanding the relationships between different organisms, their evolutionary history, and their ecological roles. A. Definition and purpose of taxonomy. Taxonomy is derived from the Greek words taxis, meaning arrangement, and nomos, meaning law. It involves the classification of organisms into hierarchical categories based on their shared characteristics and evolutionary relationships. The primary goals of taxonomy are to identify and name species. Taxonomy provides a standardized system for naming organisms, ensuring that each species has a unique and universally accepted name. This helps avoid confusion and allows scientists from different regions and languages to communicate effectively about specific organisms. Organize biological diversity. By classifying organisms into categories, taxonomy helps to organize the immense diversity of life into manageable groups. This organization aids in understanding the relationships between different organisms and their evolutionary history. Understand evolutionary relationships. Taxonomy is closely linked with evolutionary biology. It helps to elucidate the evolutionary relationships between species, showing how different organisms are related through common ancestry. This understanding is crucial for studying the processes of evolution and adaptation. B. Historical development of taxonomy. The history of taxonomy spans several centuries, with significant contributions from various scientists. One of the most influential figures in the development of taxonomy was Carolus Linnaeus, 1707 to 1778, a Swedish botanist who formalized the modern system of classification. Linnaean classification. Linnaeus introduced the binomial nomenclature system, which assigns each species a two-part scientific name composed of the genus and species. This system provided a consistent and universal method for naming organisms. For example, humans are classified as Homo sapiens, with Homo being the genus and sapiens the species. Hierarchical classification. Linnaeus also developed a hierarchical classification system that organizes organisms into a series of nested categories, including kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. This hierarchy reflects the evolutionary relationships and similarities among organisms. Modern taxonomy. Since Linnaeus, taxonomy has evolved with advances in molecular biology and genetics. Modern taxonomists use genetic information to refine classifications and understand evolutionary relationships more accurately. Techniques such as DNA sequencing have revolutionized taxonomy by providing insights into the genetic similarities and differences between organisms. C. The role of taxonomy in biological research. Taxonomy is essential for various aspects of biological research and applications. Biodiversity conservation, accurate classification, and identification of species are crucial for conservation efforts. Understanding the diversity of species and their relationships helps in assessing conservation needs and developing strategies to protect endangered species and habitats. Ecological studies. Taxonomy provides the foundation for studying ecological interactions and dynamics. By classifying and identifying organisms, scientists can explore how different species interact within ecosystems, including their roles in food webs, nutrient cycling, and habitat structure. Medical and agricultural research. In medicine and agriculture, taxonomy plays a role in identifying and studying species of economic importance. For example, the classification of medicinal plants helps in discovering new drugs, while the classification of crop pests aids in developing pest management strategies. D. Challenges and future directions. While taxonomy has made significant progress, it faces several challenges. Species discovery. The discovery and description of new species continue to be a major challenge. Many organisms, particularly those in remote or understudied regions, remain unidentified. Taxonomists must continually update classifications as new species are discovered and as new information becomes available. Integration of data. Integrating data from various sources, including morphology, genetics, and ecology, is essential for accurate taxonomy. Advances in technology and data analysis methods are helping to address these challenges and improve classification systems. Taxonomic revisions. Taxonomic revisions based on new scientific evidence can lead to changes in species classifications and names. Keeping taxonomic information up to date and ensuring consistency across different databases and publications is an ongoing task for the scientific community. In summary, taxonomy is a vital field of science that provides a structured approach to classifying, naming, and understanding the diversity of life. Its historical development, current practices, and ongoing challenges reflect its importance in biological research and conservation. As our knowledge and technologies continue to advance, taxonomy will remain essential for uncovering the complexities of life on Earth. Binomial nomenclature. A universal naming system. Binomial nomenclature is a formal system of naming species developed by the Swedish botanist Carolus Linnaeus in the 18th century. This system provides a standardized method for naming organisms, which is crucial for scientific communication and ensuring consistency across different regions and languages. The system uses a two-part name for each species, consisting of the genus name and the species name, which together uniquely identify an organism. A. Overview of the binomial nomenclature system. The binomial nomenclature system is designed to address the complexity of naming the vast diversity of life. It provides a clear and systematic approach to naming species, which helps avoid confusion and ambiguity. The system uses Latin or Greek roots, which are universally understood in the scientific community, to create names that are both descriptive and consistent. Two-part scientific names. Each species is assigned a two-part name, the genus name and the species epithet. For example, the scientific name for humans is Homo sapiens. In this case, Homo is the genus name and sapiens is the species epithet. The genus name is always capitalized, while the species epithet is written in lowercase. Uniqueness and consistency. The binomial nomenclature system ensures that each species has a unique name, which helps avoid confusion with common names that may vary by region or language. By providing a standardized naming system, binomial nomenclature facilitates clear communication among scientists and researchers worldwide. Latin and Greek roots. The use of Latin or Greek roots in scientific names helps create names that are descriptive and universally recognizable. For instance, the name Panthera leo refers to the lion, with Panthera being the genus name and leo the species epithet. The root words provide information about the organism's characteristics or classification. B. The role of Carolus Linnaeus in developing binomial nomenclature. Carolus Linnaeus, 1707 to 1778, is often regarded as the father of modern taxonomy for his pioneering work in developing the binomial nomenclature system. His contributions laid the foundation for the systematic classification of organisms and revolutionized the way species are named and organized. Linnaeus' contributions. Linnaeus introduced the binomial nomenclature system in his work, Systema Naturae, first published in 1735. His approach provided a structured and consistent method for naming species, replacing the complex and inconsistent naming systems that existed before. The Linnaean system. In addition to binomial nomenclature, Linnaeus developed a hierarchical classification system that organized organisms into categories such as kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. This hierarchical approach helps to illustrate the relationships between different species and their evolutionary history. Legacy and impact. Linnaeus' work had a profound impact on the field of taxonomy and remains influential today. The principles he established continue to guide the classification and naming of organisms, and his contributions are foundational to modern biological sciences. C. Examples of binomial names and their significance. Binomial nomenclature provides a standardized way to identify and refer to species, which is essential for scientific research and communication. Here are a few examples of binomial names and their significance. Homo sapiens, human. The name Homo sapiens reflects the species classification within the genus Homo, which includes humans and our close relatives. The species epithet sapiens means wise or discerning, highlighting a key characteristic of our species. Panthera tigris. Tiger. The scientific name Panthera tigris identifies the tiger within the genus Panthera, which includes other big cats such as lions and leopards. The species epithet tigris refers to the tiger's distinctive striped appearance. Quercus robur. English oak. The name Quercus robur is used for the English oak tree. Quercus is the genus name for oaks, and robur means strength or hardness, referring to the tree's robust wood. D. Importance of binomial nomenclature in scientific communication. Binomial nomenclature is crucial for several reasons. Avoiding ambiguity, common names for species can vary widely across different languages and regions. Binomial nomenclature provides a universal naming system that eliminates ambiguity and ensures that each species is uniquely and consistently identified. Facilitating research, the standardized names allow scientists to accurately and efficiently communicate about specific species, share research findings, and collaborate across disciplines and geographic boundaries. Supporting classification and conservation. Accurate species identification is essential for classification, conservation, and management efforts. Binomial nomenclature helps ensure that conservation strategies are based on precise and reliable information about species. In summary, binomial nomenclature is a fundamental system in taxonomy that provides a clear, consistent, and universal method for naming and classifying species. Developed by Carolus Linnaeus, it has become an indispensable tool for scientific communication and research, facilitating our understanding of the diversity of life on Earth. The hierarchy of taxonomic categories. The hierarchy of taxonomic categories is a structured system used to classify and organize living organisms into groups based on their evolutionary relationships and shared characteristics. This hierarchical framework provides a way to categorize the vast diversity of life on Earth systematically. The primary levels of this hierarchy, from broad to specific, are domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. A. Overview of taxonomic levels. Domain, the highest and most inclusive level of classification. There are three primary domains of life: bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. This level reflects fundamental differences in cellular organization and genetic makeup. For instance, bacteria and archaea consist of single-celled organisms without a nucleus, while eukarya includes organisms with complex cells that have a nucleus. Kingdom. Within each domain, organisms are further classified into kingdoms. The number of kingdoms varies based on different classification systems, but the most widely accepted in eukarya are Animalia, Plantae, Fungi, and Protista. Each kingdom represents a major grouping based on more specific characteristics, such as cellular structure, mode of nutrition, and reproductive strategies. Phylum. This level groups organisms based on major body plans and structural features. For example, the animal kingdom includes several phyla, such as Chordata, animals with a notochord, and Arthropoda, insects, spiders, and crustaceans with exoskeletons. Class. Within each phylum, organisms are divided into classes. This level reflects additional shared characteristics and is used to further differentiate organisms. For instance, within the phylum Chordata, the class Mammalia includes animals with hair and mammary glands, distinguishing them from other vertebrates. Order. Classes are further divided into orders. Each order groups organisms with more specific similarities. For example, the order Carnivora within Mammalia includes carnivorous mammals such as lions, bears, and weasels. Family. Orders are divided into families, grouping organisms with even more closely related characteristics. For instance, the family Felidae within Carnivora includes all cats, from domestic cats to lions and tigers. Genus. Within families, organisms are classified into genera, plural of genus. This level reflects closely related species that share a common ancestor. For example, the genus Panthera includes large cats like lions, tigers, leopards, and jaguars. Species. The most specific level of classification, representing individual organisms that can interbreed and produce fertile offspring. Each species is given a unique binomial name, consisting of the genus name followed by the species epithet. For example, the species Panthera leo refers to the lion, with Panthera as the genus and leo as the species epithet. B. The importance of hierarchical classification. Organizing biological diversity. The hierarchical system allows scientists to organize the immense diversity of life into manageable and meaningful groups. By understanding the relationships between different taxonomic levels, researchers can gain insights into the evolutionary history and characteristics of organisms. Reflecting evolutionary relationships. Taxonomic categories are designed to reflect evolutionary relationships among organisms. As new information about genetics and evolutionary history becomes available, taxonomic classifications can be revised to better represent these relationships. For example, advances in molecular biology have led to the reclassification of some organisms based on genetic evidence. Facilitating communication and research. The hierarchical classification system provides a standardized framework for naming and identifying organisms. This standardization is crucial for effective communication among scientists and researchers, allowing them to share information and collaborate on studies involving different species. C. Examples of taxonomic hierarchy. To illustrate the hierarchical classification system, consider the following examples. Human classification. Domain, Eukarya. Kingdom, Animalia. Phylum, Chordata. Class, Mammalia. Order, Primates. Family, Hominidae. Genus, Homo. Species, Homo sapiens. House cat classification. Domain, Eukarya. Kingdom, Animalia. Phylum, Chordata. Class, Mammalia. Order, Carnivora. Family, Felidae. Genus, Felis. Species, Felis catus. European oak tree classification. Domain, Eukarya. Kingdom, Plantae. Phylum, Angiosperms. Class, Dicotyledons. Order, Fagales. Family, Fagaceae. Genus, Quercus. Species, Quercus robur. D. Challenges and developments in taxonomy. Taxonomy continues to evolve with advancements in technology and scientific understanding. Molecular techniques, such as DNA sequencing, have revolutionized taxonomy by providing more precise information about evolutionary relationships. However, challenges remain, including the need to classify undiscovered species and integrate new data into existing classifications. In summary, the hierarchical system of taxonomic categories provides a structured approach to classifying and organizing the diversity of life. By reflecting evolutionary relationships and facilitating communication, this system plays a crucial role in the study and understanding of the natural world. Evolutionary relationships, cladistics and phylogenetics. Understanding evolutionary relationships among organisms is a fundamental aspect of taxonomy. Cladistics and phylogenetics are two key approaches used to determine these relationships, helping scientists to reconstruct the evolutionary history of life on Earth. Both methods provide insights into how different species are related through common ancestry and how they have diverged over time. A. Cladistics. Cladistics is a method of classifying organisms based on their evolutionary relationships. It focuses on the shared derived characteristics, synapomorphies, that are present in some but not all members of a group. These shared traits indicate a common evolutionary ancestor. Basic principles of cladistics. Clades. A clade is a group of organisms that includes an ancestor and all of its descendants. Cladistics aims to identify these clades and group organisms based on their evolutionary lineage. Derived characteristics. Cladistics relies on the presence of derived characteristics that have evolved in a lineage after diverging from a common ancestor. These characteristics are used to determine the relationships between different clades. Cladograms. A cladogram is a diagram that represents the evolutionary relationships between organisms based on shared derived traits. It shows the branching patterns of evolution, with each branch representing a clade. Constructing cladograms. Data collection. To construct a cladogram, scientists collect data on various characteristics of organisms, including morphological traits, genetic sequences, and developmental patterns. Character matrix. A character matrix is used to record the presence or absence of traits in different organisms. This matrix helps to identify which traits are shared among groups and which are unique to specific lineages. Analysis and tree construction. Using the character matrix, scientists analyze the data to determine the most likely evolutionary relationships. Various algorithms and software tools are used to construct cladograms that reflect these relationships. Applications of cladistics. Evolutionary classification. Cladistics provides a framework for classifying organisms based on their evolutionary history. It helps to reveal how different species are related and how they have evolved from common ancestors. Revising taxonomy. Cladistics can lead to revisions in taxonomy by providing new insights into evolutionary relationships. For example, species that were previously classified in separate families may be reclassified into a single family if they share a common derived trait. B. Phylogenetics. Phylogenetics is the study of the evolutionary history and relationships among organisms using various types of data. It involves constructing phylogenetic trees, which are diagrams that represent the evolutionary relationships among species based on shared characteristics and genetic information. Basic principles of phylogenetics. Phylogenetic trees. A phylogenetic tree is a branching diagram that shows the evolutionary relationships between organisms. The branches represent evolutionary lineages, while the points where branches diverge, nodes, represent common ancestors. Molecular data. Modern phylogenetics often relies on molecular data, such as DNA or RNA sequences, to determine evolutionary relationships. Genetic information provides detailed insights into the similarities and differences between species. Tree-building methods. Various methods are used to construct phylogenetic trees, including maximum parsimony, maximum likelihood, and Bayesian inference. These methods analyze genetic data to determine the most likely tree structure. Constructing phylogenetic trees. Sequence alignment. To construct a phylogenetic tree, scientists first align the genetic sequences of different organisms. This alignment helps to identify similarities and differences between sequences. Tree construction. Using alignment data, scientists apply tree-building algorithms to generate a phylogenetic tree. The tree reflects the evolutionary relationships among the species based on their genetic similarities and differences. Tree validation. Phylogenetic trees are evaluated and validated using statistical methods and comparisons with other data. This ensures that the tree accurately represents the evolutionary history of the organisms. Applications of phylogenetics. Understanding evolutionary history. Phylogenetics provides insights into the evolutionary history of organisms, including how species have diverged and evolved over time. It helps to trace the lineage of species and identify common ancestors. Comparative genomics. Phylogenetics allows scientists to compare the genomes of different species, revealing information about gene function, evolutionary changes, and the genetic basis of adaptation. Species identification and classification. Phylogenetic analysis aids in the identification and classification of new species by providing information about their evolutionary relationships with known species. C. Integrating cladistics and phylogenetics. Cladistics and phylogenetics are complementary approaches that often overlap in their methods and goals. Both aim to understand evolutionary relationships and provide a framework for classifying organisms based on their shared characteristics and common ancestry. Integrating these approaches allows for a more comprehensive understanding of the diversity of life and the evolutionary processes that shape it. In summary, cladistics and phylogenetics are essential tools for studying the evolutionary relationships among organisms. Cladistics focuses on shared derived characteristics and clades, while phylogenetics uses molecular data to construct detailed phylogenetic trees. Together, These approaches help to reveal the complex web of life on Earth and provide insights into the evolutionary history of species. Biodiversity hotspots and conservation. Biodiversity hotspots are regions that are both rich in endemic species and have experienced significant habitat loss. These areas are of critical importance for conservation efforts because they hold a high proportion of the world's biodiversity and are under severe threat from human activities. Understanding and protecting biodiversity hotspots is essential for preserving the planet's biological diversity and ensuring the sustainability of ecosystems. A. Definition and criteria of biodiversity hotspots. Criteria for hotspot designation. Species richness. Biodiversity hotspots are characterized by a high level of species richness, meaning they contain a large number of different species, many of which are found nowhere else in the world. Endemism. A significant proportion of species in hotspots are endemic, meaning they are found only in that specific region. This makes these areas crucial for the preservation of unique and irreplaceable species. Habitat loss. Hotspots have experienced substantial habitat loss, often due to human activities such as deforestation, agriculture, and urbanization. The level of habitat destruction is a key factor in identifying and prioritizing hotspots for conservation. Significance of hotspots. Conservation priorities. Hotspots are prioritized for conservation efforts because protecting these areas helps preserve a large proportion of the world's biodiversity. Conservation actions in hotspots can have a significant impact on global biodiversity. Ecosystem services. Hotspots provide essential ecosystem services, such as water purification, climate regulation, and pollination. Protecting these areas is crucial for maintaining these services, which are vital for human well-being. B. Examples of biodiversity hotspots. The Amazon rainforest. Biodiversity. The Amazon is one of the most biodiverse regions on Earth, home to an estimated 10% of the world's known species. It includes a vast array of plants, animals, and insects, many of which are endemic. Threats. The Amazon faces severe threats from deforestation, mining, and agricultural expansion. These activities lead to habitat loss and fragmentation, endangering countless species. The Coral Triangle. Biodiversity. The Coral Triangle, located in Southeast Asia, is renowned for its high marine biodiversity. It contains over 600 species of coral and more than 2,000 species of fish. Threats. Major threats to this hotspot include overfishing, coral bleaching due to climate change, and coastal development. These pressures affect coral reefs and the diverse marine life they support. Madagascar and the Indian Ocean Islands. Biodiversity. Madagascar is home to unique species found nowhere else, including lemurs, baobab trees, and various chameleons. The Indian Ocean Islands also harbor distinct plant and animal species. Threats. Habitat destruction from logging, agriculture, and introduced species poses significant risks to the biodiversity of these islands. C. Conservation strategies for biodiversity hotspots. Protected areas. Establishment of reserves. Creating protected areas, such as national parks and wildlife reserves, helps safeguard critical habitats and species within hotspots. These areas provide refuges for wildlife and help to maintain ecological processes. Management and enforcement. Effective management and enforcement of protected areas are essential for their success. This includes monitoring wildlife, preventing illegal activities, and involving local communities in conservation efforts. Habitat restoration. Reforestation and rewilding. Restoring degraded habitats through reforestation, rewilding, and other habitat restoration techniques can help to recover biodiversity and improve ecosystem health. These efforts aim to reverse habitat loss and provide critical resources for species. Invasive species management. Addressing the impact of invasive species is crucial for protecting native biodiversity. Management strategies include monitoring and controlling invasive species to prevent their spread and mitigate their effects on local ecosystems. Community involvement. Local participation. Engaging local communities in conservation efforts is vital for the success of biodiversity protection. Community-based initiatives can include sustainable land management practices, ecotourism, and education programs. Economic incentives. Providing economic incentives for conservation, such as payment for ecosystem services and sustainable livelihoods, can help align conservation goals with local economic interests. Policy and advocacy. Legislation and policy. Advocating for and implementing strong environmental policies and regulations is essential for the protection of biodiversity hotspots. Policies should address issues such as habitat conservation, wildlife protection, and sustainable development. Global cooperation. International cooperation and agreements, such as the Convention on Biological Diversity, play a crucial role in coordinating conservation efforts and mobilizing resources for hotspot protection. D. The role of global awareness and action. Raising global awareness about the importance of biodiversity hotspots and the threats they face is crucial for garnering support and mobilizing conservation efforts. Public education, advocacy campaigns, and partnerships between governments, organizations, and communities are essential for protecting these vital regions and ensuring the preservation of global biodiversity. In summary, biodiversity hotspots are critical areas rich in unique species that are facing significant threats from human activities. Protecting these regions through conservation strategies, habitat restoration, community involvement, and global cooperation is essential for preserving the world's biodiversity and maintaining the health of ecosystems. Key concepts of the chapter. In this chapter, we have explored the essential aspects of biodiversity and classification, emphasizing the significance of understanding and preserving the diversity of life on Earth. The key concepts discussed include the definition and importance of biodiversity, the principles of taxonomy and classification, and the methods used to understand evolutionary relationships. Let's revisit these concepts to highlight their relevance and interconnections. A. Biodiversity. Definition and significance. Definition of biodiversity. Biodiversity refers to the variety of life forms on Earth, including the diversity of species, ecosystems, and genetic variations within species. It encompasses everything from the vast array of species found in rainforests to the diverse microorganisms in soil. Biodiversity is a measure of the richness and complexity of life and is crucial for the health and resilience of ecosystems. Significance of biodiversity. Ecological balance. Biodiversity contributes to the stability and functionality of ecosystems. Diverse ecosystems are more resilient to environmental changes and disturbances, such as diseases, natural disasters, and climate change. The interactions between various species, predators, prey, and competitors help maintain ecological balance and support ecosystem services like nutrient cycling, pollination, and water purification. Economic value. Biodiversity provides numerous resources that are essential for human livelihoods and economic development. It supports industries such as agriculture, where genetic diversity in crops and livestock is crucial for food security and resilience to pests and diseases. Additionally, biodiversity contributes to pharmaceuticals, with many medicines derived from natural sources, and to tourism, where natural landscapes and wildlife attract visitors. Cultural significance. Many cultures have deep connections to the biodiversity of their regions. Traditional knowledge, practices, and spiritual beliefs are often intertwined with local ecosystems and species. Protecting biodiversity also helps preserve cultural heritage and practices that are important to local communities. B. Taxonomy and classification. Understanding the framework. Taxonomy. Taxonomy is the scientific discipline of naming, describing, and classifying organisms based on their evolutionary relationships and characteristics. It provides a systematic framework for organizing the diversity of life into hierarchical categories, making it easier to study and understand the relationships among different organisms. Binomial nomenclature. Introduced by Carolus Linnaeus, binomial nomenclature is a standardized system for naming species using a two-part scientific name. This system ensures clarity and consistency in naming organisms and helps avoid confusion caused by common names. Each species is identified by its genus and species epithet, providing a unique and universally recognized name. Hierarchical classification. The hierarchical classification system organizes organisms into categories from broad to specific levels, including domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. This structure reflects evolutionary relationships and allows scientists to classify and study organisms in a systematic way. C. Evolutionary relationships, cladistics and phylogenetics. Cladistics. Cladistics focuses on classifying organisms based on shared derived characteristics, synapomorphies, and evolutionary relationships. By constructing cladograms, scientists can visualize the branching patterns of evolution and identify clades, groups of organisms that share a common ancestor. Phylogenetics. Phylogenetics involves the study of evolutionary relationships using genetic and morphological data to construct phylogenetic trees. These trees represent the evolutionary history of species and help scientists understand how different organisms are related through common ancestry. D. Biodiversity hotspots and conservation. Biodiversity hotspots. Biodiversity hotspots are regions with high levels of endemic species that are also under significant threat from human activities. Protecting these areas is critical for preserving global biodiversity and maintaining ecosystem services. Conservation strategies. Effective conservation strategies for hotspots include establishing protected areas, restoring habitats, managing invasive species, involving local communities, and advocating for strong environmental policies. These efforts help safeguard biodiversity and ensure the sustainability of ecosystems. E. Interconnectedness of concepts. The concepts of biodiversity, taxonomy, evolutionary relationships, and conservation are deeply interconnected. Understanding biodiversity requires knowledge of how species are classified and how they relate to one another through evolutionary history. Effective conservation efforts rely on a thorough understanding of biodiversity and the threats faced by hotspots. In conclusion, the study of biodiversity and classification provides crucial insights into the richness and complexity of life on Earth. By understanding the principles of taxonomy, evolutionary relationships, and the importance of biodiversity hotspots, we can better appreciate the need for conservation and the actions required to protect and sustain the natural world. Future directions in biodiversity and conservation. As we face unprecedented environmental challenges, the study and conservation of biodiversity are more critical than ever. Emerging technologies, interdisciplinary approaches, and global cooperation are shaping the future of biodiversity research and conservation. This section explores the future directions and innovations that are essential for preserving biodiversity and ensuring the health of our planet. A. Advances in technology and research. Genomics and bioinformatics. Genomic sequencing. Advances in genomic sequencing technologies are revolutionizing our understanding of biodiversity. High-throughput sequencing allows scientists to rapidly sequence the DNA of numerous organisms, providing insights into genetic diversity, evolutionary relationships, and adaptations. This technology is invaluable for identifying species, understanding their genetic makeup, and conserving genetic diversity. Bioinformatics. The integration of bioinformatics tools enables the analysis and interpretation of vast amounts of genetic data. Bioinformatics helps in constructing phylogenetic trees, identifying genetic markers for conservation, and understanding the genetic basis of traits important for survival and adaptation. Remote sensing and GIS. Remote sensing technologies, satellite imagery, drones, and other remote sensing technologies are enhancing our ability to monitor and assess biodiversity. These tools provide detailed data on habitat extent, land use changes, and environmental conditions, helping to identify areas of high biodiversity and detect threats such as deforestation and habitat fragmentation. Geographic Information Systems. GIS technology allows for the spatial analysis of biodiversity data, enabling the mapping of species distributions, habitat types, and conservation priorities. This spatial information is crucial for effective conservation planning and management. B. Interdisciplinary approaches. Ecological and social sciences. Integrating disciplines. Addressing the complex challenges of biodiversity conservation requires interdisciplinary approaches that integrate ecological, social, and economic perspectives. Understanding the interactions between human societies and natural ecosystems is essential for developing sustainable conservation strategies. Community-based conservation. Involving local communities in conservation efforts is vital for success. Community-based conservation projects empower local people to manage and protect their natural resources, ensuring that conservation efforts are culturally appropriate and economically beneficial. Climate change research. Impacts on biodiversity. Climate change poses significant threats to biodiversity, altering habitats, shifting species distributions, and increasing the frequency of extreme weather events. Research on the impacts of climate change on biodiversity is critical for developing adaptive conservation strategies. Climate-resilient conservation. Conservation strategies must incorporate climate resilience, focusing on protecting and restoring ecosystems that can withstand climate change. This includes identifying and preserving climate refugia, areas that remain relatively stable and can provide safe havens for species as the climate changes. C. Global cooperation and policy. International agreements. Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD. The CBD is a key international treaty aimed at conserving biodiversity, promoting sustainable use of biological resources, and ensuring fair sharing of genetic resources. Continued global commitment to the CBD is crucial for advancing biodiversity conservation. Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement on climate change has significant implications for biodiversity conservation. Mitigating climate change through the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions is essential for protecting ecosystems and species from climate-induced changes. Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Integrating biodiversity in SDGs. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals include targets related to biodiversity, such as protecting terrestrial and marine ecosystems and promoting sustainable use of natural resources. Integrating biodiversity conservation into broader development agendas ensures that economic and social development efforts support, rather than undermine, ecological health. D. Public engagement and education. Raising awareness. Public awareness campaigns. Increasing public awareness about the importance of biodiversity and the threats it faces is crucial for garnering support for conservation efforts. Campaigns, documentaries, and educational programs can inspire people to take action to protect biodiversity. Citizen science. Engaging the public in scientific research through citizen science initiatives allows individuals to contribute to biodiversity monitoring and data collection. Citizen science projects can increase the scope of biodiversity research and foster a sense of stewardship for the natural world. Environmental education. Incorporating biodiversity in education. Integrating biodiversity education into school curricula helps instill an appreciation for nature and an understanding of conservation principles in future generations. Field trips, nature programs, and interactive learning experiences can make biodiversity education engaging and impactful. Training conservation professionals. Investing in the training and development of conservation professionals is essential for advancing biodiversity research and conservation. Programs that provide skills in ecology, conservation biology, and environmental policy prepare individuals to tackle complex conservation challenges. The role of innovation in conservation. Conservation technologies. Innovative solutions. The development of new technologies, such as artificial intelligence for species identification, automated monitoring systems, and conservation drones, offers innovative solutions for biodiversity conservation. These technologies can improve the efficiency and effectiveness of conservation efforts. Restoration technologies. Advances in restoration technologies, such as seed banks, rewilding techniques, and assisted migration, support the recovery of degraded ecosystems and the reintroduction of species to their natural habitats. Sustainable practices. Sustainable agriculture and forestry. Promoting sustainable practices in agriculture and forestry can reduce the impact on biodiversity. Techniques such as agroforestry, organic farming, and sustainable logging help preserve habitats and protect species. Green infrastructure. Implementing green infrastructure in urban planning, such as green roofs, urban forests, and wildlife corridors, enhances urban biodiversity and provides habitat connectivity in human-dominated landscapes. In summary, the future of biodiversity and conservation lies in leveraging technological advancements, embracing interdisciplinary approaches, fostering global cooperation, engaging the public, and driving innovation. By integrating these strategies, we can address the complex challenges facing biodiversity and ensure a sustainable and healthy planet for future generations.